Prime Minister Phankham Viphavanh has told personnel in the information, culture and tourism sector to work harder and deliver greater achievements in the years to come, as the new minister overseeing the sector officially assumed office. This was the first time that Prime Minister Phankham offered guidance to the ministry in his role as Prime Minister following his election by the National Assembly's inaugural session. Secretary General of the National Assembly, or NA, Mrs. Suansavan Vinyakit on Wednesday officially replaced Professor Dr. Kikeo Kaikhampitun as Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism. Addressing a ceremony to hand over the position, the new Prime Minister asked the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, or MICT, and its subordinate agencies to draw up an action plan to realize the targets approved by the recent inaugural session of the National Assembly's 9th Legislature. This was the first time that Prime Minister Phankham offered guidance to the ministry in his role as Prime Minister, following his election by the National Assembly inaugural session. Mrs. Suansavan is among the cabinet members approved by the Assembly. The Premier told the ceremony, which was attended by core officials from the sector, to modernize information and media affairs and speed up the delivery of useful and accurate information to meet the growing needs of society. In addition, he told authorities in charge of tourism to work out a plan to rejuvenate tourism amid the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, which has severely impacted the global tourism industry. He stressed the need to further promote and develop more ecotourism facilities, citing Namkat Yolakpa in northern Udomsai province as a good example that provided lessons to be learned. Mr. Phankham also called for officials to do more to promote and preserve both tangible and intangible forms of culture after learning that some young people have adopted undesirable lifestyles from outsiders, including their way of dress. Authorities in charge were also told to consider and create tangible man-made architecture as a form of cultural heritage for future generations. What will we build as a legacy for coming generations, he asked, noting that our ancestors had created various forms of tangible heritage for current and future generations, including the Plain of Jars in Sinkwang province and the Tat Long Grand Stupa in Vientiane. The Plain of Jars has also become a form of heritage for global citizens after the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization listed it as the World Heritage Site in 2019. In front of those attending the ceremony and the Prime Minister, Madam Minister Suansavan promised to dedicate her efforts to leading the information, culture and tourism sector in putting into practice the guidance given by the Prime Minister, the resolution adopted by the recent 11th National Party Congress, and the plans for the MICT. He described the Prime Minister's advice as a guiding direction for the development of the sector. Madam Minister Suansavan is among the last member of Mr. Phankham's cabinet to officially take up office. On Tuesday, Deputy Minister of Finance Mr. Bunjom Ubun Pasert officially replaced his predecessor Somdi Dongdi. On the same day, Professor Dr. Bovin Kamvongdala replaced Mr. Tansamai Komasit as Minister of Technology and Communications. In addition to the assumption of office by the new cabinet members, leaders of other state organizations have also taken up their new roles. Vientiane Mayor Dr. Sinlavong Khutpaitun on April 5th replaced Dr. Saisampon Phongvihan as President of the Lao Front for National Development. Dr. Saisampon has taken up office as President of the National Assembly, replacing Mrs. Pani Yathotu, who is now one of the two Vice Presidents of Laos. Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Thongsavan Phongvihan replaced Mrs. Sunthorn Sanyachak as head of the External Relations Committee of the Party Central Committee.